My name is Lauren Carter. I'm 32. And this was the day my own mother told me, in front of the whole family, that I wasn't welcome at my little sister's wedding. Not as the maid of honor. Not even as a guest. I stood in my parents' living room, heart pounding, hands trembling at my sides. My sister Rebecca sat on the couch like a stranger, her eyes cast downward, fingers nervously twisting the hem of her sweater. My mom? She stood tall behind her, chin lifted like she was delivering a royal decree. We've all agreed. Your presence would only create tension. It's better if you don't attend the wedding at all. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. It was like someone had vacuumed the air from the room. I looked at my father, who sat in the corner chair like a piece of furniture silent, blank, distant. Megan, our cousin, perched smugly in my usual spot, glancing at me with something between pity and satisfaction. Just a month ago, I was planning Rebecca's bridal shower. A week ago, I was finalizing the honeymoon packaging $8,600 surprise gift I'd saved for 2 years to give her. 2 nights ago, I was still telling myself, this is just stress. We'll laugh about this someday. But today, they made it clear. I wasn't part of the celebration. I wasn't even part of the family. They erased me. I swallowed the lump in my throat. My mother's voice, sharp, calculated, echoed in my ears. You've tried to make it all about you. The money, the opinions, the control. Rebecca deserves a peaceful wedding, Lauren, and frankly, you don't belong there. I wanted to scream. To throw the receipts in their faces. The deposits I'd paid, the late nights Pinterest planning color palettes with Rebecca, the bridal magazines filling my apartment. But instead, I just stood there, frozen. Silent. Rebecca didn't say a word. Not even a whisper. And that silence? That was the part that broke me. I had been her protector since she was born. Her constant. I taught her how to tie her shoes. Held her after her first heartbreak. I paid for half her college tuition when mom and dad couldn't cover it that semester. And now? I was being replaced by Megan, of all people, because I dared to care too much. What had happened to my sister? How had I become the villain in the story I'd helped write? And maybe the better question was, how long had they been planning this? Because from the way my mother smiled as she delivered the blow, this wasn't spontaneous. It was an execution. What about Rebecca? I finally asked, voice shaking but steady. What does she want? My sister looked up briefly, eyes rimmed red, lips parted like she might speak. But then Mom stepped forward, placing a hand protectively on her shoulder. Rebecca wants a drama-free wedding. That sentence landed harder than any slap. The room held its breath. Even Megan looked slightly unsure now. My hands felt numb. My chest tightened. I whispered, I see. And I did. Oh, I really saw now. This wasn't just a wedding. This was a declaration. You don't belong here anymore. I left that night without looking back. As I drove home, streetlights blurred through tears. My phone buzzed with a message from Rebecca, just one word. Sorry. But it was too late for apologies typed through a screen. Too late to undo the months of exclusion, the private dress appointments I was never told about, the bridesmaid meetings I didn't know happened, the lies. Too late to unhear my mother say, "You're not welcome." But here's the part they didn't know. I had receipts, literal and metaphorical. And I had truth. And I had strength they underestimated. So no, I wouldn't be showing up at that wedding. At least not the way they expected. But the story wasn't over. Not yet. Would you accept being erased from your own sister's life after all you've done? Or would you fight to reclaim your worth even if it means tearing the whole illusion down? Stay tuned. Because the truth was about to hit harder than they ever imagined. You know, this wasn't sudden. No betrayal ever really is. It's quiet at first, just a skipped invitation here, a forgotten thank you there. Until one day, you realize you've been pushed out entirely. I used to believe I was just imagining it. That maybe I was too sensitive, like Mom always said. But looking back, the cracks had always been there. Growing up, Rebecca was the golden girl. She had that kind of spark-big eyes, louder laugh, the kind of charisma that made relatives beam and teachers melt. And Mom? She ate it up. Rebecca's so creative. She's our little star. Lauren, can't you just loosen up a bit? I was the quiet one. The practical one. I followed the rules. Got straight A's. Paid for my own field trips. Never asked for much. But somehow, that was never enough. It wasn't that Mom disliked me, she just didn't see me. I still remember Christmas morning when I was 12 and Rebecca was 9. She opened a brand new art easel and oil paint set, and I got a calculator. Mom smiled and said, "Well, you love math." It wasn't cruel, just indifferent. And maybe that's worse. By high school, I became the one who solved everything. Dad was always quiet, floating in and out of the picture like an extra in our lives. If the sink broke, I fixed it. If Rebecca forgot her school project, I stayed up late helping. When she cried over a boy who ghosted her, I was the one making hot cocoa and wiping her tears. I never expected anything in return. Just love. Just a little recognition. But with Mom calling all the shots, that recognition never came. Rebecca got into a private liberal arts college. She wanted to major in art history. My parents covered the first year, but then money got tight. So, I did what I always did. I stepped in. I was fresh out of business school, starting my first job at a Boston financial firm. I wasn't rich. But I gave her $6,000 to keep her in school, no strings attached. I told myself, it's what sisters do. But when Mom told her friends at the graduation party, she said, it was all thanks to Rebecca's determination. No mention of me. I didn't resent Rebecca. Not yet. She was under Mom's spell too. And honestly, I believed in her talent. I wanted her to shine. If I had to be the scaffolding holding things up behind the scenes, so be it. But eventually, you start to wonder when someone's going to look back and say, thank you. When she got engaged to James, I was over the moon. He was sweet, grounded, respectful. The kind of guy who listened when Rebecca talked about ancient tapestries or obscure galleries. And the day she called me screaming through the phone, Lisa, he proposed. I was already making a to-do list in my head. Bridal showers. Venue hunting. Color palettes. I was ready. But Mom? She saw an opportunity to stage a spectacle of control. She booked the venue without asking. Ignored the photographers we researched. Replaced the pastel blue Rebecca loved with her own burgundy theme. And Rebecca? She folded. Again and again. It's easier this way, she said. Mom and Dad are helping pay. At first, I kept helping anyway. I ordered the custom welcome baskets for guests. I covered the deposit for the string quartet. I stayed up till 2 a.m. printing out seating charts. I kept telling myself, this is for Rebecca, not Mom. But the more I gave, the more I disappeared. And Megan, her cousin, barely involved in anything growing up, suddenly started appearing in every planning photo. Holding up bridesmaid swatches. Picking menu items. I hadn't even been told there was a cake tasting. One day, a coworker said to me, so cute that Rebecca found her dress already. I saw it on Elegant Moments Instagram. I blinked. What dress? She looked confused. Didn't you go with her? I didn't even know there was an appointment. That night, I called Rebecca. I thought we were going to shop together. Her voice was sheepish. It wasn't the real appointment, just a look around. Megan was free, and you've been so busy lately. That's when it hit me. They were phasing me out. And I was letting them. But I couldn't let go. Not yet. Because despite everything Mom's dominance, Rebecca's silence, I still loved her. I still believed this was a phase, a moment, not a total betrayal. So I poured even more of myself in. I booked a luxury honeymoon package, Bali, private villa, first-class seats, full itinerary. I imagined revealing it at the rehearsal dinner. Rebecca's eyes lighting up. The hug. The gratitude. the return to us. But what I didn't realize was that she was never going to hug me, because someone had already convinced her that I wasn't worth holding on to. I wish I could tell you I walked away from that betrayal and immediately started building an empire. But it didn't happen like that. First, I broke. Not dramatically. There were no screaming matches, no confrontations. Just long nights sitting in the dark of my apartment, scrolling through old photos of Rebecca and me, birthday parties, school dances, movie nights with popcorn spilled on the floor, and asking myself, how did we get here? How did I become the person no one defended? The thing about being the responsible one is, no one asks if you're okay. They just assume you'll hold it together. After the dress shopping incident and all the silent exclusions, I tried to drown myself in work. I was already managing million-dollar portfolios at the firm, but now I doubled my hours. I arrived early, stayed late, took on the clients others avoided. I told myself, if I can't be part of their celebration, I'll build something that no one can take from me. The loneliness crept in slowly. At first, it was just missed calls and unanswered texts. Then it became Sunday brunches that no one invited me to. Group chats I wasn't added to. Photos of family gatherings I didn't know happened. And still, I stayed quiet. Because I didn't know how to unlove the people who erased me. But there's something liberating about being forgotten. It gives you space to rebuild without permission. So I started pouring into myself. Quietly, methodically. I signed up for financial leadership seminars on the weekends. Worked toward my CFP certification. Networked at industry events, even though I hated small talk. I started a side blog that broke down money tips for women in their 30s, and shockingly, it gained traction. I began getting emails from strangers thanking me. I finally understood how to pay off my debt. You're the reason I opened my first Roth IRA. Funny how people who'd never met me could see my worth, while my own family never could. Then came the promotion. VP of Client Strategy. It wasn't just a title, it was a seat at the table. I negotiated my salary, pushed for equity, and got it. I bought a condo with my name alone on the deed. And for the first time in years, I let myself breathe. But that climb? It wasn't glamorous. I worked 12-hour days, skipped vacations, got stress-induced migraines so bad I couldn't see straight. I had nights when the silence in my apartment felt louder than any argument I'd ever heard. I missed my sister's voice. Her laugh. The way we used to communicate in glances. But what I didn't miss was the weight of always being the second choice. Around that time, I met Tyler. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was steady. Intentional. He was a high school English teacher who quoted poetry over dinner and remembered how I took my coffee. More importantly, he saw me. Not for what I could do. Just for who I was. On our third date, I told him everything, the favoritism, the silent dismissals, the way my family spun narratives that made me the difficult one. He didn't try to fix it. He just listened. That night, for the first time in months, I slept through the night. It was Tyler who gently suggested I stop giving without boundaries. You can still love them, he said, but you don't have to bleed for them. It took a while for that to sink in. Because when you've been the one who always shows up, walking away feels like betrayal. But I was beginning to realize something vital. I'd never betrayed them. I just stopped letting them betray me. I still finished the honeymoon surprise for Rebecca and James. Despite everything, I booked the villa, the private chef, the candlelit dinner on the beach. Not because I wanted validation, but because I knew they'd love it. And I wanted to believe just for a moment that maybe this could still bring us back. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not even Tyler. I planned to present it quietly at the rehearsal dinner, maybe with a smile and a simple, "This is for you." Because even after the pain, a small part of me still hoped. But in the silence of those weeks, no calls, no invitations, no gratitude, I also prepared for the worst. I began collecting proof. Screenshots of text threads. Copies of receipts. Emails confirming what I'd paid for. Just in case. Because something inside me had shifted. No longer the silent supporter. No longer the invisible backbone. No longer the one who would just absorb every slap. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning clarity. And clarity came. Just not in the way I expected. The night of the meeting felt heavy from the moment I parked outside my parents' house. Rebecca had finally texted me back after weeks of vague replies with an invitation to come over and talk things out. Tyler had wanted to come with me. I told him no. I need to do this on my own, I said. I didn't expect roses or reconciliation. But I still held out hope for honesty. Instead, what I walked into was a setup. The living room was too quiet, too staged. Dad was in his usual chair, hands folded like he was praying silently. Rebecca sat perched on the edge of the couch, eyes down, face pale. And standing behind her like a defense attorney guarding her client was Mom. Megan sat in my spot. I didn't even take off my coat. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Rebecca, I thought this was just us." "That's why we're all here," Mom cut in, before Rebecca could open her mouth. "It's time we all faced the truth." What came next was surreal. Like watching a poorly rehearsed play you weren't cast in but somehow the villain is wearing your face. "You've been trying to take over this wedding," Mom said coldly, ticking off offenses like a grocery list. "Controlling the details, making Rebecca feel inadequate. Throwing your money around to remind everyone who's in charge." I turned to Rebecca. "Is that what you think?" She hesitated, then whispered. "It's just been really tense, Lauren. You're intense." Intense. That word landed like a slap. "So you replaced me with Megan?" Mom stepped in again. "Rebecca deserves support, not pressure." Then she smiled. That kind of smile that tells you they've been waiting months to say what comes next. "We all agreed you're not welcome at the wedding. Not as maid of honor. Not as a guest. It's better for everyone this way." And just like that, 30 years of sisterhood evaporated. No one said a word. Not Dad. Not Megan. Not even Rebecca. I should have broken, yelled, pleaded. But instead, I breathed. Deep, measured. And I saw the room clearly. This wasn't about the wedding. It was about erasing me. And for the first time, I let them. Without another word, I turned and walked out. Rebecca whispered my name once. No one followed. That night, I cried like a child. Then I got up. I opened my laptop. I canceled the entire honeymoon. I pulled every dollar I had sunk into that wedding. The quartet. The welcome baskets. The calligrapher. The $8,600 luxury Bali villa. Gone. Then I called my credit card company to dispute the unauthorized charges Mom had made using my information. No more silent sacrifice. The next day, my phone exploded. 30 missed calls. Half from Mom, some from Dad, one from Rebecca. I didn't answer any of them. Until I saw one text. 3:42 a.m. "I'm so sorry, Lauren. I just found out what Mom did. Please call me. Please, I need my sister back." Rebecca wasn't just complicit. She had been manipulated. And what I uncovered next proved it. James, her fiancé, called me personally. "Your mom faked texts, Lauren," he said. "She changed contact names in Rebecca's phone. She made it look like you canceled plans. She even intercepted your messages by rerouting them." I sat down slowly. My hand was shaking. "She created a contact under your name," James continued. "When Rebecca thought she was texting you, she was really texting your mother." "She showed me screenshots," I whispered. "Snide remarks I never said." "They were fabricated," he confirmed. I met with Rebecca and James at a quiet cafe that weekend. I brought a folder. Receipts, screenshots, emails, dates, times. Rebecca brought a hollow face and eyes full of regret. "I believed her," she said softly, "because I didn't want to believe my own mother would lie like that." She scrolled through her phone and showed me the messages from me her mom had written. The tone was wrong. The language too cold. Nothing like my voice. Mom had staged the perfect takedown. Until she got greedy. Canceling the honeymoon was the thread that unraveled her tapestry. Then came the moment I'd been dreading and craving. I called a meeting. Not just Rebecca and James, but Aunt Catherine, Uncle Paul, Dad, even Grandma Martha, the people who needed to know the truth. Mom thought it was about the wedding budget. She walked in smiling, holding a binder of her plans. Then she saw us all, and the documents spread on the coffee table. Her smile cracked. "What is this?" she asked. "A chance for truth," I said. What followed was chaos. At first, she denied everything. Then came the manipulation. "You've all turned against me." Then the tears. Then rage. But the evidence spoke louder. Dad's face turned gray as he realized just how far it had gone. "You told me she said those things," he whispered to Mom. "You showed me proof." "It was for Rebecca's good," she snapped. "Lauren is always trying to control everything." "No," Rebecca interrupted. "You were controlling us, and I'm done with it." Mom turned to Dad for support. For the first time in their marriage, he didn't give it. "Enough," he said firmly. "This ends now." And in that moment, the spell finally broke. I didn't gloat. I didn't cry. I just stood quietly, the way I had always stood in this family, except this time, they couldn't ignore me. The week before Rebecca's wedding was unlike anything I'd imagined. There were no cake tastings or final dress fittings with champagne. No frantic group chats about seating arrangements. What we had instead was silence. A calm, uncertain silence, like a storm had passed and no one was quite sure what had survived. Mom retreated. For a while, she didn't speak to anyone. Then came the icy texts. "I hope you're happy. This family used to mean something." But no apologies. Just carefully worded guilt. Dad, on the other hand, surprised especially me. He called. He visited. Once, he even stood outside my apartment with a grocery bag of Thai food and said, "I figured you hadn't eaten." Then he added quietly, "I should have protected you a long time ago. I'm sorry." It wasn't dramatic. Just true. And sometimes, that's enough. Rebecca and I didn't rush the healing. We didn't pretend everything was fine. We sat in the aftermath and sifted through it like survivors at the edge of a fire. Some moments were raw, others surprisingly light. We rebuilt our brunch tradition, one Sunday at a time this time, with deeper conversation and firmer boundaries. "I still can't believe she faked all those messages," she said once, tears in her coffee. "I can," I replied. "But now, I don't excuse it." Mom was given a choice. Rebecca was clear. "You can attend the wedding. But, as a guest. No more vendors, no more behind the scenes, no more control." Mom balked, threatened, cried. But in the end, she agreed. Though whether it was acceptance or just strategy, no one knew. I didn't return to the role of maid of honor out of obligation. I returned because I chose to. And this time, I made my own rules. I coordinated the bridesmaids with clarity. I helped Rebecca with last-minute changes but didn't sacrifice my peace. I showed up, but I didn't bend. I also rebooked part of the honeymoon. Not the full $8,600 package, just a scaled-down version. Still generous, still beautiful. But this time, I added a note. "This is a gift freely given. Not a token to buy affection or forgiveness. You're my sister. That's enough." The wedding day dawned crisp and blue-skied. Rebecca looked radiant. And when I helped her into her dress, the one I hadn't been there to choose, I didn't feel resentment. Just a small ache. And a quiet peace. "I wish we could rewrite the last few months," she whispered, fixing her veil. I smiled. "We can't, but we can write everything after this better." The ceremony was breathtaking. The vows raw and real. I held Rebecca's bouquet with hands that had once carried her through every storm. Mom sat stiffly in the front row, perfectly poised but for once, powerless. She looked at me a few times. Once, our eyes met. And for the first time, I didn't look away. Later, during cocktail hour, I was fixing some cards on the gift table when her voice came, soft and unsure. The calligraphy is beautiful. I turned. Mom stood there, hands folded tightly, unsure how to start. That was your doing, wasn't it? I nodded. Rebecca loves hand lettering. A long pause. Then she said something I never expected. You've always noticed details. What people love, what matters. I didn't respond. She took a breath. The therapist, Catherine, recommended your father insisted I go. She says I need to learn how to acknowledge other people's strengths without feeling diminished by them. Her voice cracked slightly. I don't expect forgiveness, Lauren. But I am trying. It wasn't an apology. But it was a crack in the wall. And for now, that was enough. A month later, our family began group therapy. It was awkward, messy, full of long silences and interrupted sentences. But it was honest. Dad began speaking up more. Rebecca became firmer in her own needs. And Mom started showing up differently. Not always. Not consistently. But sometimes. And that was more than I'd ever seen. As for me, I kept going to my own therapy. I learned how to spot the signs of overfunctioning, of giving too much, of tying my worth to what I could provide. I created boundaries, not just fences, but foundations. And I started building a life that didn't require anyone else's validation. Tyler was there through all of it. One weekend, he took me hiking to our favorite overlook. The sun dipped low, the sky all watercolor orange and pink. He knelt, smiling. Lauren Carter, he said. You've fought so hard for everyone else. Let me fight for you. I said yes. But with one condition. We keep the wedding small. No drama, no family committee. Just peace. He laughed. Deal. Today, Rebecca and I are stronger than we've ever been. She calls often. Checks in. Listens. Her daughter Niece was born last year. Her middle name? Lisa. That one broke mine the best way. As for Mom, her progress comes in waves. Some days, she surprises me. Others, she stumbles. But I've learned not to make her change the measure of my healing. Forgiveness, I've found, isn't a door you open once. It's a door you leave unlocked. For when and if the person truly wants to walk through it. So now, I live with peace. Not perfect, not polished, but earned. And I don't need their approval anymore. I know who I am. And that is enough. What about you? Have you ever had to walk away to find yourself again? Have you ever been forced to set boundaries with the people who are supposed to love you most? Drop a comment below. Because maybe, just maybe, your story matters too.